Hi there, it's Laura here from My Heart Planners, and today I'm going to share with you my very favorite books of all time, and some of these have had a profound impact on my life, so I can't wait to share with you. And meanwhile, make sure you take a second and hit subscribe and hit that bell so that you don't miss any videos. Before I tell you my very favorite books, I want to talk a little bit about reading in general and how I fit reading into my schedule. So I've always enjoyed reading, and I feel like I have learned so much from books. And it's looked different at different times in my life, but right now I primarily am listening to books on my phone. So that's on Audible or Scribd, and I'll leave links to those down below. I use both because I like to read so much, and I can read while I am folding laundry or washing dishes or out for a walk or exercising or riding in the car. So I'm able to fit it in a lot more by listening to audiobooks. And for me personally, I feel like I've still gotten the same information that I would if I actually picked up the book and read. So I just read a handful of physical books, but I'm mostly listening. So when I say read, it means read or listen. I also want to mention that we are going to have a corresponding blog post to go with this. So if you want an easy reference of all the books that I'm going to talk about and a little description of them, plus some runners up that I won't have time to go into on this video, be sure to click that link and check that out. Now, these books are in no particular order, and they are a wide variety of topics, and I'm not saying that these are the top 14 for sure ever. I mean, it's very hard to pick favorites, but these are several that just came to mind that I know I love and can recommend. And if you want to hear more recommendations, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I can definitely do a follow-up because I have lots more books that didn't quite make this list that I would love to talk about. And I also want to mention these books are all nonfiction. I used to, when I was in middle school, high school, I could read easily a novel a day. I love nonfiction and I enjoy those books. But what I found for myself is that when I start reading a nonfiction book, I get way too into it, and it actually makes my life worse instead of better because I can't put it down. I stay up too late. I'm annoyed when I have to deal with interruptions, which are really, the things I want to do with my life. And so it just doesn't work out well for me. So I just basically have said it's probably been 7-8 years since I have read a fiction book. I'm not saying that I never will, but that's not the bulk of what I do. So these are all going to be nonfiction books. Also, I love research-based books with facts to back it up, presenting research, things like that. So that's just the style that I love. So I'm just sharing with you the books that I personally have enjoyed the most. So the first book is called 10,000 Hours by Phyllis Lane. This is a book that I read approximately 8-9 years ago, and I still remember it. And I will honestly say, of all the books that I've read, this may be surprising. It may have had one of the most profound impacts on my life. So the premise of the book, and it has lots of research to back this up, is that to become an expert at something, you don't need to start with a gifting in that area. You're not born with a special gift. You simply must put in 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, and he defines carefully what that is, and you will become an expert. Now, the reason this changed everything for me is that I realized there's a lot of gifts that I don't believe I have. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I believed. But I know that I can put in 10,000 hours. I know that I can work just as hard as anyone else. And so that's why I started this whole blog in the first place. Before, I was feeling like, I don't know if I can do it. All these other people are so amazing at all these different aspects of blogging, and I'm not. But once I read that book, I realized I don't have to start out at the expert level. I just have to put in the practice and I'll get there. So that was really the nudge that pushed me over the edge to actually get started. So that's why it ended up having such a profound impact on my life. The next book is Deep Work by Cal Newport. I love this book so much because he talks about how the art of deep work has actually been lost. And that is the art of really putting in focused time on whatever your work is, and you actually work at a higher level and get more done and is more fulfilling versus working for a few minutes and then being interrupted, or constantly going to scroll Facebook or social media, or even the culture of modern work where we're expected to be fairly available to answer our phone, for somebody to drop in, answer our email, all those things. So this was a great book. It was backed up with a lot of research. As a runner-up, I'll also mention his more recent book, might be more popular, I'm not sure, called Digital Minimalism, which I also enjoyed, but I think Deep Work was even better. The next book, called Simplicity Parenting by Kim John Payne. This book basically talks about how much complication, distraction there is in the world for kids, and the way to solve the problem is to simplify. Of course, he is a psychologist who has worked with children, and so he has a lot of experience. He has research and stories to back up what he's talking about, but it really opened my eyes to the idea of making things simple for my kids, that they don't need 5,000 toys and a huge full schedule of all these enrichment activities. They just need time to be kids. Next book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Now, I feel like this one needs a little warning that if you do not like deep, research-based books, this one will not be for you. It is 21 hours on audio, whereas most books I listen to are probably average around 6 or 7 hours. That's a lot of audio. I should also mention, when I listen to audiobooks, I speed them up to at least double speed, if not more, without losing any understanding of the book. I can go up to 3 on some books. If you can do that, you're going to get it read in half the time, and I find it much more engaging. I don't have to wait for them to take a breath and pause. I can really get the information quickly. So I would definitely recommend speeding up the audio. And this really just talks about the way that we reason and think, with tons and tons of research to back it up. I do think it can belabor some points as long as it is, but it really opened my eyes to some ways of thinking, some ways that we're biased, that we don't even know it, and all of those types of things. I really, really enjoyed it. Next, Work Energy, Finish What You Start by Jim Harner. This book, I've read a lot of business books. This one was way more on the light side, like easier read, lighter read, less in depth with like the actual strategy of business, and more how you get yourself to have a positive work energy. He also weaved in his own story in a way that I thought was really engaging and made me want to read it and made me really relate. So I really enjoyed that one. Next, The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz. This one, so eye-opening, and basically it is about how having too many choices is actually harmful. Typically, we value a lot of choice, we value free will and freedom and things like that, but he's actually saying that while we do value that, it can become an obstacle. It can make life harder, and he has a lot of research to back it up, and it was so eye-opening to me, because I realized I often think that I want to be able to choose, but when you actually have to choose every little thing and make tons of decisions throughout the day, it is not making your life any better. It's actually making it worse. Versus if you only have some choices with parameters in a limited role or situation, that actually enriches your life. And he even talks about the ways to eliminate choices and things like that. And I thought that was just such a good message. Next, Capital Gains by Chip Gaines. I just love this book. It was very heartfelt. It was not what I expected at all, honestly. I didn't really know what I expected. It was popular. I just picked it up. It's a very easy read. It's a pretty quick read, but it was just so heartfelt, and you can really feel and understand what he's saying and the hard decisions that they made. And I just thought it was such an encouraging book. Next, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. Now, this was where it was really hard for me to pick out my favorite book from his book. I would say if I had one favorite author, it would be Patrick Lencioni. All of his books, and I have read them all, are amazing. And what he does that is so unique, and he does it so well, is they are all, except for one of his books, is told in parable form. So that means instead of just, listing off and telling you what he wants to say, he creates a story around it, gives the characters names to keep you engaged, and it really helps you understand how the concepts are applied. And to be honest, some of them I was like actually like in suspense, like what's gonna happen. He does such a good job. I wish there were more books like this. I don't know, maybe I just haven't found them, but he is definitely my favorite author. Next, The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Chris McChesney, Sean Covey, and Jim Hewling. This is a very in-depth, comprehensive book. It's a longer read. It's a little bit more technical in parts, but it's all around how to get a team, even a large organization. They've worked with some really large organizations, how to get them to get things done. It was so motivational. It was so helpful for me to see how they helped these large corporations, even though that's not me, but I liked seeing it and seeing how those principles can apply, I think, even on a personal level. And he does talk about that in the book a little bit, how he's applied them to his personal life, and you can kind of use this strategy in your personal life. Next, The Smartest Kids in the World by Amanda Ripley. So this is someone who did a lot of research on children in different countries. She actually sent an exchange student to live in each of the countries for a year so they could say firsthand how these countries with really high test scores and things like that differed from the United States. It was very eye-opening for me and helped me think of education differently and even the problems with education a lot differently, and even helped solidify some things that I had kind of thought but had a hard time articulating or finding, is there research to back this up? So I thought that was really helpful. I would say for me, the biggest takeaway is that what makes a bigger difference than the technologies that are used, how great the buildings are, how well things are funded, even than parent involvement, is the quality of the teachers. And I already knew that, but just seeing it laid out like that, I was like, that is so true. And it made me feel even more passionate about supporting teachers, helping teachers, all of those kind of things, because it really is critical to have wonderful teachers. Next, Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's a book about businesses, and he studies several businesses who went from good to great and how they got there, the commonalities between them, and he has very strict criteria for them being included. And it's not always what you would think that would make a good business, but he really dissected them and found what was common between them. This was super engaging read. It was so informative and things that you never would have thought of. Next, The Collapse of Parenting by Leonard Sachs. This was just a great overall parenting book. It doesn't get terribly specific as far as like, here's exactly what you need to do, but it talks about general overarching concepts that are important to think of, and I thought that this book was super helpful. Next, Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child by Mark Weisbluth. Now, I feel like the topic of infant sleep can be pretty controversial. I really don't have a strong opinion on all of that. What I will say about this book and why I put this in here is that it came to me at a time when I needed it most, and it gave me some amazing encouragement. I was one of those moms who read all the books and thought that I should be able to get my baby on at least, maybe not a tight schedule, but a routine. And I thought that if I did all of the right things, like I didn't let her, I didn't give her all these sleep aids and all this stuff, that she would just end up sleeping well. And that did not work out for me, and I was feeling like a total parenting fail. When I read this book, I realized, okay, it's not me. This guy is a pediatrician. He's done a ton of research. He had a lot of actual research to back it up and helped me see that certain babies, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to be sleeping great. That was what I needed to hear. So that's why I had to include this book. And it is one of the more comprehensive books and a little bit more balanced. I feel like he doesn't come out with just one approach and say, this is the way you have to do it. He just presents a very general overall look. And he does give specific, like he thinks this is the best way, but he's just more reasonable about it. I feel like giving room to all the different sides, understanding the different philosophies out there, and also backing it up with research, not just his own personal experience with 1 or 2 children. And last, Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. This, I just thought, I picked up this book and I didn't know that I was going to like it. I had it for a while before I decided to actually read it. I'm not super into running. I mean, I have run some at different points in my life, but I'm not like a born runner. And but I still thought this was so fascinating and so motivational, and it's about the Tarahumara Nation and how they became like ultra marathoners, and this was just kind of what they did in their day-to-day lives. Like they would run and run and run, and like how that happened. I just thought it was really interesting, and I didn't expect it to have any suspense or anything like that, but it really did, and it was very fascinating and motivational and enjoyable. So I hope this has given you some ideas on books that you might want to add to your own reading list. And be sure you check out the corresponding blog post, because that has links to everything I'm talking about, along with a few honorable mention books. And let me know in the comments what are one of your favorite books.